Hey
Good,
guys.
how are you?
Good.
All right.
Has it been a year?
I know, right?
Like we're just
How
here.
different is it this year for you here? It's got to be a little more comfortable, I would think.
Well, you're never comfortable in
Yeah.
these positions, but it is different. It's been good, getting to know a lot of the other ads and presidents and conference staff. So I think you get into a little bit more of a groove and understand what to expect. But the challenge is the amount of change and the amount of transition in intercollegiate athletics is a time where there's not a lot of comfort and not a lot of time to sit still. So we had a great day-long meeting with all the ADs and Commissioner Warren yesterday, and just trying to sort through, some of the things that face all of us. And don't have all the answers, certainly, but I think we've defined all the challenges, which is really important, and just trying to do the right thing for Nebraska and also for the Big Ten Conference.
How can the UCLA move? How can that help Nebraska?
Well, first of all, I think it was incredibly strategic. I think it was really bold. And I think in a time of change, having leadership that's willing to be bold is really important. So I really saluted the other ADs, the presidents and chancellors, but also Commissioner Warren. I think it's wonderful. I mean, you're talking about two amazing brands that, the Big Ten's very proud. We've got a lot of great institutions with strong brands, and certainly these two bring a lot. I mentioned this previously, but I had a tremendous experience getting to play at UCLA. Now, we happened to win the game, but we didn't win by much. But getting a chance to play out in California was a special experience. So we got a lot to work through. There's some easy things to point to as challenges in terms of integrating them into the conference. But as Kevin always says, it's 24, so we've got some time. But I think they're going to be great additions to the Big Ten.
How much better do you feel like you know Coach Frost now as opposed to last year? And what's been the most revealing about how he goes about his business and his job?
Well, it's like anything else, whether it's your marriage or just friendship, right? It takes time to get to know somebody. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. And I talked, I think, when I first, back in July a year ago, we talked about trust, and trust goes both ways. Coaches have to earn the trust of administrators have to earn the trust of the coaches. So I think just being transparent, sharing information with Scott, working through, getting his perspective, and slowly I think it kind of naturally, organically evolves into some trust where he can bring some things to me, I can bring things to him, and we can work through them together. So I'm really, really pleased with where the relationship is right now. I'm pleased with where football is. We haven't won any games, but I'm pleased with how bold and strategic that Scott and the staff have been in trying to make the changes necessary to affect the change needed to win games in a very difficult conference. And by the way, as you just mentioned, Andy, it's not going to get any easier. We're bringing in a really challenging brand. So our job is to figure it out. And we're going to have a much better chance of figuring out if we're doing it together rather than doing it in silos.
What do you want to see this season out of the team? I know it's not specific wins, but what do you want to see on the field?
Well, I think we want to see what everybody wants to see, right? A well-coached football team that doesn't quit, that's physical, and in key moments makes the necessary plays to get us over the hump. We talked about this last year. This is going forward. This is never going to be a deal where most every single team is going to have some pretty equal talent. There might be some that have a little bit more, but you're talking about the very granular details of how we operate, and that's going to be critically important. And so what I've been pleased about is Scott's willingness, and he's done this on his own, to dive into those details, to find solutions, to try to correct those, because they're absolutely going to be necessary. I know some of you have written about and talked about one-score games, and how do we, it's 100% true. It is what it is. Every time we walk out on the field, it's not going to be a situation where we have significantly more talent, and if we just don't turn the ball over, we're probably going to win the game. It's kind of how it used to be. It's not that way now, and now we've got to find a new strategy. So, I think those are the types of things that you want to see: the cohesion of the staff, a team that plays together and plays hard, and everything I've seen. I think we're heading towards that this year.
You have said you don't want to attach a win total that would represent progress. Why is that?
So you guys can spend all year going, well, this was the total, and now they've got this many games to get there. I just think you can create some unnecessary. The other thing is, the reality is, you can have a really good football team that what happens if week 5 you're starting running back and quarterback and defensive end all are out for the season with injuries? I mean, I think there's some other factors that can play into things that happen to a team. And so I just think it's unwise to, listen, we all are well aware, we understand what pressure is. Every single coach in the Big Ten is under pressure to win. We are in the competition business. That's not going to change. I've said it before, we don't get tenure in athletics. So winning is kind of not an option for us. And so we're just slowly building back some of the momentum that's necessary. And you know, fortunately or unfortunately, we get to start with a conference opponent in Ireland, which, you know, I think in a way is wonderful because it gets the attention of your team. Ted, first practice tomorrow, you look at the schedule, you know, we better have some great practices because we don't have a lot of time to create the team necessary to compete.
Trev, what used to be on Scott and his staff's agenda over the next month before the game? What's the biggest focus that they have to take care of before the first game?
Well, I think, you know, again, not knowing all the X's and O's of what they're working through, Mitch, I will only say, I think given the challenge of the portal and how many new coaches and players we have, I think finding a way in a short window to meld all of those personalities and expectations together, I think is going to take great leadership. And I think Scott can do that. I know he's working hard on that. But that's going to be really critical because, you know, a team full of talent isn't necessarily a team. And so taking talented individuals and creating and melding a team, I would think is going to be critically important to him and for him, and I think he's focused on it.
How is Pirate Marble accentuated Scott's strengths? How do you see him maybe be able to lean into some things he's good at?
Well, you know, I think when you have coaches like Mark and Mickey and some of the other coaches, I mean, you got to understand, they're bringing experiences to Nebraska, working for other head coaches or being a head coach himself or even NFL experience or working with different personalities of players that I think really can help Scott. It's just a broadening of your perspective. You know, I think having a coach that's had to create systems and play calling in multiple situations, I mean, every conference is different. What you're going to do in the NFL is likely different than what you're going to do in the ACC. So I think a lot of it is just perspective. And, you know, when you sit around a table with different experiences, different perspectives, and different abilities, it has, you know, it's just going to impact you, I think, in a positive way, as long as you're receptive to it. And I think Scott has certainly been receptive to it.
Are there strengths and weaknesses to a team wanting to play for a coach? Maybe you can draw on your own experiences here. Players talk pretty openly about wanting to help Scott win, not only for themselves, but for him. Are there strengths or weaknesses to pinning some of that on wanting to win for a coach?
Well, I wanted to win for Coach Osborne, I can tell you that. But I was scared not to win for Coach Osborne. But, you know, I don't know. I don't want to put too much on that. I mean, you know, we play for Nebraska. This is about Nebraska. We're going to try to do everything in the best interest of Nebraska. I think Scott feels the same way. But I do think the team is a close team right now. Again, we haven't played any games. Everybody feels pretty good right now. Everybody's undefeated, but I think it's important to take advantage of some of that cohesion that you're talking about.
How much does
I didn't answer that very well. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer it. Sorry. You asked too hard a question.
Trev, how much does the sellout streak stress you out? And do you look at it any differently now as opposed to a year ago, especially with the fan survey and all that?
It doesn't stress me out because I will tell you, as I mentioned before, sitting in the meetings, you know, yesterday with the ADs. I mean, every one of the ADs talks about our fan base, how incredible our fans are, and that experience when we go to Memorial Stadium. So it's really important to us. It's important to me. It's more reflective of the fans, and so we've got some work to do there. If we haven't done it already, I think we're going to be releasing some additional information about additional mini ticket packages where our team's doing everything they can. We want to keep that intact. But we need to do our part on the field, you know, and we've got to have a product that people want to come and experience. So it's important to us. We're going to work as hard as we can to maintain it, but we'll do it the right way.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Trev. Appreciate it.
Man, I failed. That was a really good question.